see this? You see this, YouTube? This is for you. This is my last attempt. I do not know what's going on. 5 attempts. I've live streamed. I live streamed over 30 times last month, and I never had a problem with any stream. Oh my God. All I can say about that is I have a interview lined up with Damien Rugna, director of When Evil Lurks and Terrified. If this shit happens when I'm trying to talk to that guy, I don't know if I'll be able to do YouTube anymore. The amount of problems that I run into on YouTube and doing the channel is kind of insane, honestly. The amount of videos I've recorded that when I go to check, they have no audio, the amount of technical difficulties that I run across, the amount of YouTube fuck ups that I deal with on a daily basis, the amount, man, it takes so much of the fun out of just discussing film, right? Like, that's the whole point of the channel, is just to sit down with like-minded people, because the literal reason I started the YouTube channel, the literal reason I started this channel is because, and I'm sure you guys can relate, there's no one to talk about these movies with in your real life that gives two shits. That's the whole reason I started the channel, right? Is because I would find a person who cared about film like me, especially the horror genre, once in a blue moon, dude. Like, so rare, so rare. It's incredibly rare to meet someone who cares. So you have to turn to the internet. And when you just go into forums, or if you go into Facebook groups or whatever the hell, you just can't, you're just in the ether, right? You're just kind of saying your opinion in the ether. And I did that game. I did the Facebook groups and everything for 5 years. And I would slowly make my way up and do all this and that. And eventually I was just like, you know what, man, in order to make this more focused, to make this more like, I want to get my opinion out there, and I want to connect with like-minded people, because if people don't like what you have to say, they're not going to watch you, right? Every once in a while, you do get some random asshole who becomes like obsessed with you, and they make it their life to screw with your life, even though they seem to hate your existence. I'll never understand that, but the whole point of this whole thing was to talk to you guys, to get to know my audience, to get to know other horror fans, because I want to talk horror with like-minded people. And just the amount of frustration that I have to go through doing a YouTube channel, it really is just unbelievable. I know it sounds like nothing, but I implore you guys to try it out one day, because I know it seems like, what are you talking about? This shit's easy. Go get a real job. I have a real job, but I'm just saying, the YouTube thing, the podcasting thing, all that stuff, it is way more work and way more complicated than I can possibly put into words. It's grueling, but I love it, so I continue to do it. But when this kind of stuff happens, when I can't get a live going, and I did 6 different lives now, 6 to try to get this going. Oh man, that kind of shit makes me want to just go, okay, guess YouTube isn't for me. But whatever. Beyond the Void, what's up, Alex? You wouldn't know. What do you know? You don't know nothing. So, anyways, thank you, Durton. You have always been a huge supporter, and your enthusiasm is definitely what keeps me going. Not you alone, but people like you. So thank you to anyone like Durton who really, really supports the channel and is cool about it. So, all right. I said a lot about the Halloween franchise. I said a lot of shit. I didn't get to read your guys' comments. I guess I could go back and look at them if, like, this will allow. Here. I should be able to read them this way. half of you probably aren't even here anymore. So unfortunately, I'm not going to get like half the people in the room, especially when I'm telling them to shut up, like Ariadne. Sorry, Ariadne, but she hates on these new movies, and we ain't gonna have none of that around here. Just kidding. You can have whatever opinion you want. Why won't? Oh, here we go. Boom. Let me see. All right, here we go. The old comments. So let's see. What did I miss? I already talked about the Laurie Strode thing. I agree. What I was in the middle of talking about at that time was that what I really didn't like about what Blumhouse had done is they had decided to make Laurie not important as much. They were like, we're going to take away the sister thing, and we're going to more go back to the original idea of the boogeyman and this and that. It's not just about lineage. But then they just made it about Laurie, right? I mean, even though the franchise doesn't focus on her as the main character anymore, they focus on all the other characters that Michael's killing. Laurie is the focus, right? Like in the end, it all came down to one of the main reasons people were so mad about, and there's plenty of reasons, trust me, I've read them all. But one of the big reasons that people were so mad about Halloween Ends is that they wanted more of a fight between Michael and Laurie. And I personally couldn't give two shits about a fight between Michael and Laurie. Michael should be able to wipe the floor with Laurie Strode, especially a 60-plus-year-old Laurie Strode. Like, this is ridiculous. Michael can take down freaking entire lynch mob at the end of Halloween Kills, but he's struggling with a senior citizen. No, it's just silly, man. It's writing convenience, because that's what people want, because they want to believe that their favorite characters are what, God level. I don't even understand. So just, yes, let's be done with the Laurie Strode thing. Let's move on. But anyway, so let's see, where were we? Why did it go away? I'm excited for cinematic universe. Okay, Duritan, if you are excited for the cinematic universe, which is fine, I'm not disagreeing with you or agreeing with you. I will always watch Halloween related stuff. Okay, that I am going to outright say. So I will watch 100 Halloween films. Now, will there be enough like interest in that? Probably not. There's not enough diehards like me and like a few of you who are like, I'll watch 100 more of these things, right? Like, but would I don't know. I say that, but would there be a point where I stopped caring? I can't imagine that happening. But let's say they put out like 3 Resurrection movies in a row for me, like that level of bad. When they were going to release the 4th, would I still continue to be excited? If it just looked like it was going to be another Resurrection? No. But would I go? God, I genuinely can't imagine not being excited and going to a Halloween movie opening night. I just can't imagine that being a reality. We are 13 films in, and that's not happened yet, even after Resurrection and H2O, which I'm not a fan of at all. I still was there. I'm always going to be there. I can't imagine it happening. But it's possible, I suppose. The People's Poet. Hi, I'm from the UK. This is the best horror movie review channel, bar none. Well, thank you. I agree, especially with Beyond the Void horror podcasts in here. Way better than that hack. I think it could be interesting if they had Myers only and not Laurie, but I'm seriously weary because of kills in it. Yeah, Ariadne, I mean, will they detach themselves from the lineage thing and legacy characters? Like but this is just it. This is what I'm talking about. People really can't let go of what they don't already know. They claim they want original things, But I don't know. That's kind of a like it. So with that, it is odd because, and on one hand, it contradictory was the word I was trying to think of, and I for some reason couldn't come up with it. It is kind of a contradictory statement because you're taking what would be the 14th property in the Halloween franchise, whether it's television or it's movies, whatever, right? It's never done television before, but that would be considered the 14th thing, much like Child's Play, right? Child's Play did 7 movies. Now they're on their 3rd season of a TV show, which I would consider the 3rd season to be like the 10th movie or the 10th property that they've released. So on one hand, I'm saying original and unique, but on the other hand, I am saying let's make the 14th thing in a franchise. So it's not really ever going to be technically original because this franchise doesn't have any interest in moving into something that is unique and what you would consider new, or fresh or original, right? Those, unless they went the Halloween 3 route, but Miramax is not going to buy the rights to Halloween and make a Halloween 3 anthology style film. It's just not going to happen. Now, could they do that as well? Maybe. That could be an avenue to explore where, their plan becomes an anthology style film, kind of like Star Wars did, where they did, Force Awakens, then Rogue One, then The Last Jedi, then Solo, like where they kind of do these spin-off things, but those were connected, right? Like Solo is in the Force Awakens universe, as to where Halloween 3 is not in the Michael Myers universe. We see that by Michael Myers being on the television. We know that he is a movie in that universe. So Halloween 3 is supposed to be like in our universe. So I don't know. It is weird because you want original. I want something unique for sure. That I can honestly say, because as somebody who does love Halloween Ends, somebody who loves Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, somebody who loves Halloween 3, all the risky, weird endeavors that the franchise has made. See, like H2O, the reason that I hate H2O so much, and I always have, is that it is the safest film in the franchise. It is as formulaic as humanly possible, right? They're like, nobody, we took risks with that. We're just going to wash it all away. We're going to ignore it all. Has that happened before? Was Halloween the franchise that invented this idea of legacy sequels, ignoring previous entries? What other franchise has done that, like, so obviously? I guess you could say Exorcist 3 did that in what is that, 1990? So that would be 8 years before Halloween did it. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think Halloween H2O is the first like movie to completely ignore all other sequels other than 1 and 2? That's an interesting question. I don't know. Maybe I'm forgetting something else, something obvious, something big, some big franchise or something that was like, no, we're just going to ignore these things and go back to just the original film. Because if that's the case, then Halloween is kind of the godfather of this idea of wiping the slate clean, creating new branch timelines, this choose your own adventure style narrative where if you want this kind of thing, you have the Thorn trilogy. If you want this kind of thing, you've got the Blumhouse trilogy. If you want this kind of thing, you got the H2O duology. If you want this kind of thing, you got the Halloween 3 universe. If you want this kind of thing, you got the Rob Zombie verse, right? Like there's so many different avenues. Or if you're just a purist, you can just do 1 or 1 and 2, right? Like there's so many different timelines to choose from when it comes to the Halloween franchise that I don't know. I just I don't know what the plan is here, but okay. Before we get into any more comments or anything, I do want to read this deadline thing really quick. so we have a better understanding of where did it go. Deadline's like, nah, we're not doing that anymore. It was at the top, and all of a sudden, what? It's not interesting anymore. Here it is. Okay, that's not even number one. Jesus, what's number one now? Netflix. Ted Sarandos reveals why talks broke down. How is number two? It was number one 2 seconds ago. Okay, then. All right, let's see. I'll keep you guys here, and I'll go over here. If this freezes up again, I'm burning down my computer. I saw my wife was in the comments, actually. Hi, honey. So if I don't say hi to her, she'll start filing divorce papers as we speak. Just kidding. I hope. All right, exclusive. After heated bidding war, Miramax has scored the television rights to the hugely popular Halloween franchise, which are controlled by I don't know how to say that, International Films, run by Malika Akkad. So, okay, this is interesting. Miramax Television signed a wide-ranging deal to develop and co-produce a Halloween TV series, which also includes a first-look agreement on other television projects from the international marketplace. This is weird to me because it says the new Halloween series is envisioned to potentially launch a cinematic universe spanning film and television. Miramax head of global TV, Mark Helwig, will be overseeing the franchise creatively in close collaboration with Akkad. I want to know who the hell is Mark Helwig. Okay, let's research this guy really quick because I definitely want to know what, like, are we supposed to get excited about Mark Helwig and Malik Akkad working together? Like, what has this guy done that is like of interest, of notable interest? The two films the two projects I'm seeing right here just on Google as I pull them up, it just has them attached to two things, is something called Gray Matter, which I know nothing about, and that David Harbour Hellboy movie, which didn't do well. And a lot of people were not fans of. So who the fuck is Mark Helwig to take over this franchise? I'm curious on this. Let's check it out. Producer. He has worked on Hellboy. He was an executive producer on Lost in Space, the TV show that was on Netflix. Good show. Gray Matter, which has a 4.9 on IMDb. I know nothing about it. Project Greenlight, A New Generation. I remember Project Greenlight, the Matt Damon and Ben Affleck thing. But what has this guy done that makes him somebody who's an authority on what we should do with the Halloween franchise, right? Like when Dave Filoni came in to take the reins of television for Star Wars, that makes perfect sense. Dave Filoni has proved himself as a reliable Star Wars aficionado who was literally taken under the wing of George during the prequels, and passing the torch down to Dave Filoni makes perfect sense to me as a Star Wars nut. I follow that shit as much as I follow any of this stuff. And so when I see Filoni getting the creative freedom to do what he wants with the television side of things when it comes to Star Wars, I'm like, that makes sense. You've proved yourself. I know who you are. Who the fuck is Mark Helwig to come in and be the guy in charge of Halloween, right? Like Blumhouse or not, Jason Blum is somebody who does have an affinity for horror. He has an affinity for money, as all producers do. But I do believe that Jason Blum does, to a degree, want to make interesting horror. I do believe that. He might not always be successful, but he has proved that he has a dedication to the genre, and he is someone who wants to do something with it, right? So, like him or not, I think he's a better candidate for this. And Mark Helwig, to me, I'm looking at it and it's like, what is your interest in Halloween? Honestly, I feel like Halloween is my daughter, and Mark Helwig is coming over to try to fuck my daughter. That's what I feel like right now. Like, what are your intentions with my Halloween franchise? I want to know. Let me in on this. I want to talk to you for a second. Let me know. Where are we going with this? You just gonna use it, right? Because that's kind of what this is like. This is like a guy who wants to come over and he just wants to bang your daughter and move on and break her heart, and he doesn't care because he just wants to get something out of it. And if that's what they're trying to do here, which of course studios, that's what all they care about, right? But you can do both. You can be someone who wants to make a profit, but also cares about what you're putting out, right? When you take on a major franchise, when you take on something that has such a diehard fan base, right? There's a reason they've made 13 films in this franchise. Like them or not, think it's a cash grab, think it's the stupidest thing ever, whatever. I don't care about any of that. Really look at the fan base, okay? The fan base is there for a reason. They stick around for a reason. We talk about these things. We're relentlessly passionate about these things for a reason, right? So you've got to take into consideration that there are people out there who care way more about this than you do. And I get that Halloween can be a cash cow for you, but you can do both. You can please the fans, care, and make money. It is possible. So I don't know. Do we blame Mark or Akkad? I don't know, man. I don't know. I really don't at this point. I don't know where we go with this. Miramax was in charge of the last 3 movies, and obviously those were not huge hits the way that they wanted them to be in succession. Like the first movie made like $250 million worldwide. That was a killer for them. They were stoked out of their minds, and they wanted to try to duplicate that success. Halloween Kills came out, and it made half that. Then Halloween Ends came out, and it made even less than that. Now, are they all financially successful? Yes. They're cheap movies, right? Horror is cheap. This is why studios love them. They love producing them. They can make one for $5-10 million, and they can bring in $100 million, and people are like, look, it flopped because it made $100 million. If you think $100 million on Halloween Ends is a flop, you're out of your mind. Is it what they wanted it to make? No. But the movie didn't cost all that much to make. So them making what? Almost $500 million. They made like $450-500 million off of those 3 movies, and they probably cost like $20 million to make all 3 of them. They are rolling in the dough right now. So it isn't about that. But, you know, I will say that whether you like the Halloween trilogy that was just released or not, I do think that David Gordon Green and Danny McBride and the people that were involved actually did care. I do believe that. Now, whether or not that matters to you because of the product, right? Like you can be the biggest fan in the world. The biggest case in point for this is the Dungeons and Dragons movie, right? Originally, famously, the biggest Dungeons and Dragons fan on earth took over and made that first Dungeons and Dragons movie years and years and years ago. The one with Jeremy Irons and whatever. That movie is laughably hilarious, right? So you have like the biggest fanboy on earth was put in charge of the thing he cares most about, and he brought you a terrible project, right? People hated it. It's a bad movie. It is what it is. Of course, it probably has its fans, and that's fine. But commercially and critically, and with most people, that's just, unarguably a pretty terrible film. And then you've got the new Dungeons and Dragons movie that just came out with Chris Pine and Sophie Lillis and all those people. And people really enjoyed that movie, myself included. I don't know who the fuck made that movie, right? And it probably was some simple cash grab. I don't know if the people on board were as passionate, but the dude that made the first movie was the most passionate person. So just because you love something, like just because you take the biggest Halloween fan on earth, doesn't mean you're going to get the best product out of them. That is just not the case. You have to have talent. You have to understand. Like going back to Star Wars, I can't help myself because I'm a nut for it. the guy who Tony Gilroy, the guy who made freaking Rogue One and Andor. Andor is phenomenal, and almost anybody who's watched Andor knows that that show is as high quality Star Wars as there is. But the creator of that show famously doesn't like Star Wars at all. He's just a really, really good writer. He's just a really right. But regardless, I don't know, because it is something I'm so excited about. I'm so passionate about. I've dedicated my entire freaking life to it. I have tattoos on my body. You know, my whole identity is wrapped in these goddamn freaking Halloween movies and franchises. So I do get a little weary. Now, I don't understand. So the television rights, they landed the television rights. So what does that mean? That's what I'm confused about, because it says that they're in a partnership or whatever. But what about the film rights? They said they're going to make movies and television, but it just says that they got the TV rights. So let's continue to keep reading after I go through here. Jason, you like cheese? Question mark. I mean, everybody likes cheese, but my body doesn't like cheese, unfortunately. Let's see. Texas Chainsaw, The Next Generation. What about that movie? I love getting some sinister. What's up, Fauci? I keep calling you Fauci, like the freaking, the dude of the CDC. That's Fauci. Do you say it similarly? It's not, though. I always wonder. Matt, what's going on? I just want more horror crossovers. That never makes sense, but I am a sucker for the concept. I am not with you on that. I definitely don't want to see like Michael Myers versus Leprechaun. That is not in my wheelhouse at all. I do not. Does anybody really care about that? Like, I do not need to see Freddy versus Jason again. I don't care. That is not interesting to me in the slightest. I don't care. I'll go see it because I'm a sucker. I'm an idiot. But I just do not care. All right. You blame Mark for the creative decisions. You blame Akkad for executive decisions. Okay. I'm late, but honestly excited to see whatever they make. I mean, I think a lot of us are excited as long as we like the product. David Gordon Green basically said he made what he wanted and he doesn't care if people liked it. That's always an interesting one to me. Like, I made the movie for myself. If no one likes it, I think that's just a guarded comment. I think because he knows so many people are hating on it, it's just kind of his reflex is like, well, I made a movie I like, and I'm just going to stand by it because I'm a fan and I made what I want. And dude, I call bullshit on this. As people who want to put out entertainment. If all you were interested in is making movies for yourself, I just don't think you would be on this level, right? You wouldn't be making studio films like this. Like, we want to make things for an audience. You want to please people. Bullshit. David Gordon Green wants us to love these movies. And some of us vehemently despise them. And I think that's a pretty guarded comment. So he said he doesn't care if people like them. Bullshit. As a filmmaker, I call bullshit on that, because you're not going to get properties and projects off the ground if everyone hates your movies you make. That's just a dumb comment from someone who wants to make future films. If the studio is like, bro, no one showed up to your last couple movies, no one likes you, I'm not producing your movie. Right? So that's just dumb. But I'm okay with the idea that he's sitting back and saying, I loved the movies I made. It sucks that people aren't enjoying them, but we tried our hardest. I genuinely liked what I put out. I'm proud of what I put out. That I can stand behind, and that makes sense to me. But no. As much as I want someone who loves Halloween to be involved, I think someone who is talented writer could do. Yeah, for sure, babe. I think it's because Miramax already had the film rights. So yeah, I mean, they had them with Blumhouse, but I thought they were in negotiations for more. But you're right. I think that is correct. I think they already had film, but I think that maybe they say it more in here. Is it possible the TV series will play off the new trilogy? I don't see how. I don't see how. Myers was in prison for 40 years, never got out. As soon as he did, we followed the events of his exploits, and then Corey and Mike were killed, definitely. I mean, Corey's body was still around. Myers' body was destroyed. So there is definitely no Myers, but there's not enough demand for Corey Cunningham as the killer for them to be like, yeah, let's go the Corey Cunningham route. There's no way. There's no way they would do that. And honestly, this is why I kind of laugh with like, it's Corey, or no, it's Michael, or it's whoever, Jamie Lloyd, or whatever. If you're just a body wearing a mask, it doesn't really matter, dude. I mean, it's just a literal human figure wearing a Michael Myers mask. I don't give a shit who's underneath it. This is so funny to me that people are like that upset about like, it's Corey Cunningham under the mask, not Myers. How could they do that? Again, I saw a dude in a Myers mask killing people. Like, what do I care if it's Michael Myers or Corey Cunningham? Like, that does not matter to me. People are so silly to me in that way. They're not a character, right? The character is the image. That is it. Jason looks completely different in like every freaking film for the first like 6 films. It doesn't really matter that it's Jason Voorhees. It's just some, like literally in the 5th movie, I promise you, guaranteed 100% on, I guarantee it. If in A New Beginning, it was found out that Jason was actually the killer, people would have loved that movie so much more. But because it's Roy, they care. They're like, oh my God, how could they do that? How could they tell us it's Jason and it's not Jason? Who cares? It's a fucking guy in a mask who's stabbing people. It doesn't matter. That's why the Scream movies do what they do. People come to see Ghostface. The Scream franchise, as much as I don't like Scream and I shit on it here and there, the one thing Scream does do that is intelligent and is cool and is way better than Halloween or Friday the 13th or any of these fucking movies is that they have a different killer every time. So every single time it's a mystery and we wonder who's under the mask. With Michael Myers and that kind of shit, it's like, who cares? I just want to see that cool mask stabbing people. That's what really matters. So I find it odd that people care that it's Michael Myers under there. Like, it doesn't matter. It's evil incarnate, right? Like, as long as it's the evil in the body and he's wearing the mask that you like, what do you give a shit who it is? Anyways, I don't know, man. People love Mike. Why? Who gives a shit? This is so stupid to me. People think Michael Myers is a character. He's not a fucking character. He's like Carpenter said, he's like the wind. He's an element. He's not a character. He literally is just the embodiment of evil that is being portrayed through an image, through iconography. It's his mask and his jumpsuit. Who gives a shit who's under there? You can tell people. You don't even have to tell anybody anything. You don't even ever have to say his fucking name. You can literally just have him in the movie. Let's say they make a Halloween movie tomorrow, right? They never say Michael Myers in the film, and all it is Michael Myers' mask, right? The Myers mask as we know it with the jumpsuit, and he just stabbed people. As long as they never confirmed or denied that it was Myers, people wouldn't give a shit because Michael Myers isn't a character. He doesn't have arcs. He's not going to go through turmoil and grow as a character, and he's not going to have like, you know, drama that makes him a better person or a worse person, or like nobody gives a shit. But somehow they still care that it's Michael Myers under the mask. That is fucking insane to me. That is fucking insane to me. Something I'll never understand about Halloween fans. Like, it's fine. I get it. It's Myers. But who gives a shit really at the end of the day? You just want to see the mask. But that's why I'm the person that's always like, change the mask, change the person, change something. It doesn't matter. Anyways, all right. Just call him the boogeyman. There you go. Johnny's got it. The boogeyman. The boogeyman could be anybody. That's what the whole idea behind it was, is Myers isn't really, it's not about Michael Myers, the kid who grew up to be the killer. It's the evil that's in him. It's like a possession. It's like Reagan or something. It's Pazuzu that's in her. It's not Reagan. She's the vessel. The Myers body is a vessel for evil. Evil is what people are going for. But that evil has been given the name of Michael Myers, and people can't detach themselves from the body that holds the evil. Right? They're clinged on to this name of Michael Myers, but it's the evil that's within him that makes him kill that we care about. Because the Michael Myers character, there's literally nothing to him. He hasn't spoken a word ever. You never see his face. There's no reason for what he does. He's not interesting anymore after 13 films. He's just not. So, anyways, this is something I will fight people to the death on. I genuinely don't get that, but that's just me. If you guys disagree, that is totally fine. But anyways, all right, let's see what everybody's saying. He's dreamy, says my wife. Yes, I think my wife cares, but she much prefers me to be under the costume. Trust me on that one. They probably just saw Chucky's TV success and wanted some of that. Just the studio wants their character as a skin in Fortnite. Hey, man, Netflix has said their biggest competition is not theaters. It's not Disney Plus. It's not anything. They lose more viewers. They lose more eyes on the screen to Fortnite. Literally, that is a Netflix statement that they released saying we lose more eyes on to Netflix to Fortnite more than anything else. Anything else. Yeah, I agreed. Friday 5 is top 3 Friday films for me. Don't give a crap that is not Jason. Thank you, Cookies on Toast. You saw the mask. You saw the stabbing. What else do you want? Who cares? So you'd be cool with Laurie Strode under the mask? Sure. I don't give a shit. What does that matter? It's a human figure wearing a mask stabbing people. I don't even care. Honestly, this is what I'm saying. I don't need it to even be named. Like Johnny T just said, just call him the boogeyman. I think that's a brilliant idea. I think Johnny is really onto something with that. I think in the future Halloween films, I don't even want to hear the name Michael Myers. I just want to hear the boogeyman. That makes way more sense to me. It's just then it's an entity. Then it doesn't have like a human name. It's more of like an idea. It's more of a like supernatural force versus Michael Myers, who's a human, who's a kid who stabbed his sister and then spent years in a mental institution and was locked up. Like that to me is like that's not the point. The point is who Myers becomes when he breaks out and puts on that mask. Then from there on, that's when the franchise is interesting. Michael Myers in prison, nobody cares. There's a reason they didn't show Myers in jail. In the book they did, right? We read the book and we spend time with Myers in jail. This is why the zombie movies are way more exponentially interesting to me when it comes to the Myers character, right? Michael Myers is actually a character in the zombie films. That is something that the zombie films do way better than any of the other franchise, right? Is that Michael Myers is an actual character. He is in a prison. He has not only character in the opening, right? Like when we meet Myers in Carpenter's Halloween. Now, don't get me wrong. I love like, John Carpenter's Halloween, obviously. But that's its own thing. It never meant to have sequels. Myers was never meant to be a character, a legacy franchise thing to build around, right? That's just the case, right? So, and then Carpenter was like, there shouldn't be a sequel. And if there is, I'm killing him off because that's all we can do. There's nothing more interesting to do with this guy. And then, of course, when they brought him back with 4, then they were like, well, how do we continue to keep going with this? And they're like, well, we got to do a Thorn thing. And then, Dr. Wynn had to be the voice, right? The Man in Black had to become Myers' personality. Dr. Wynn was basically like replacing Myers' character. He was the voice for Myers because Myers can't talk because everyone will fucking freak out if Myers says die like he does in because like in the zombie movies. I know people are like, some people are like, fuck him, right? Like zombie movies suck. That's fine. I don't care if you like the zombie movies or not. But he did make Michael Myers a more interesting character, period. That for me is undisputable. Because Myers is like a real person, if you're going to make Myers a real person, if you're going to make him an entity like they do in the other movies, then he's not, then it doesn't matter if it's Myers. So it's one or the other. Either Myers has character and he is interesting, then it matters, right? In zombies movies, it does matter if it's Michael. In the Carpenter verse, in like Halloween 2 or whatever, it doesn't matter because he's just literally a figure in a mask. So it doesn't matter anymore. So that's that. Anyways, what's John saying? I would have preferred a A24 Halloween film. I don't know. I'd have to see both, right? That's that alternate universe where I got to see what Miramax does. I got to see what A24 does. I got to see what, whoever the hell else does. I'd love to see them all. I'd love to see them all and then be able to be like, okay, I like this one. This is the one. But that's kind of how the Halloween franchise already is, right? We all have our preferred timeline. There's people out there that just like the first movie. There's people out there that just like the first and second movie. There's people who like just the first, second, and H2O. There's people who love the Thorne trilogy. There's people who love the Blumhouse trilogy. There's people who love the, so we kind of already have that alternate timeline thing, which is interesting. But I don't know. I don't know what the plan is here. Because Halloween fans are a fickle lot, right? Like, just out of curiosity, do you guys want Michael Myers to actually be a character? Like, I'm asking every one of you. Let me know. Do you want Michael Myers to actually be a character in these future films? Do you want to see like a reboot with like an actual Michael Myers character? When I say an actual character, I do mean that like he's going to have something more interesting to him than lurking in the shadows and stabbing people with a mask. That's not a character. Okay? I don't know what anyone else is going to say about that, but you tell me how a guy wearing a mask and stabbing people in the dark is a character. That's just not a character. So do you actually want him to be a character? And if you do, what does that character look like? What does that mean to you? Because when Rob Zombie had Michael Myers talk, people flipped out, especially once he became an adult and he screamed die when he killed Loomis in the director's cut. People freaked out about that, but it's like, he's not so Zombie tried to make him a character through other avenues, right? He did the like talking Michael in the sanitarium with before and after, right? He did Michael talking to his family before he killed, and then after he was talking to Loomis in the sanitarium till he finally shut down. Then he doesn't speak again until he kills Loomis. But that is like, he actually is a character in that. Like it or not, that is a different take. Is that something you guys are wanting to see? Are you wanting to see Myers explored in a way where he actually has like a character arc? Is that something you want to see? Because I don't know how you do that. You can't not have him talk if you want him to have it actually be a character. He's going to have to communicate in some way or another. Whether or not that's through somebody else, right? That's where Wynn came in the Thorne trilogy. That's where Sartan kind of came in the first 2018 movie. That's where Corey Cunningham came in to kind of like take his evil when they like see each other through each other's eyes. There has to be something there to create character. Laurie Strode got connected to him because then she kind of becomes character through her as a vessel, sort of. So it is interesting. The Myers character is like really bending over backwards to be a character without actually being a character because people don't want him to do anything but stab people. It's weird, man. It's a tough franchise because Myers doesn't speak in the first movie. So now people are committed to that idea forever. Right? So that, I don't know. And Loomis, you're right. Loomis is the character for both Michael and Loomis himself, right? Loomis is the one who's going around and telling everyone Michael's the embodiment of evil. Michael's the one I stared at, looking at a room, staring at the wall, inhumanly patient, like that kind of stuff, right? He's the guy who's going around and constantly telling us why Michael's is scary, why Michael is important, why Michael is this and that. Because Michael can't do anything himself. He can write on the... It's interesting because Michael does kind of speak in Halloween 2, right? He writes sister, or I'm sorry, he stabs sister and he writes Samhain or Samhain as Loomis says. So Michael does communicate once in the John Carpenter verse. He writes a word. That's him talking just through writing. So can Michael write stuff down? Can he scrawl in blood what he wants to say? Would that be appropriate for you? Because I don't see anyone ever freaking out for the fact that Michael writes Samhain or Samhain on the board and then stabbing his sister. That's technically like character stuff. He's speaking. He spoke through writing. Are you guys okay with him writing? Like, what are people okay with Myers? That I'm curious on. All right. A lot of comments. I agree. Writers keep bringing Michael back themselves, so people are only going off of that. We just assume he'll be brought back if perhaps they just establish evil was in the mask. This is something that they brought in to the Friday the 13th young adult novels, is that the mask was evil, right? Even though that doesn't really line up with the Friday the 13th franchise, nor would it with the Halloween franchise, because Myers doesn't wear the Myers mask. Although in the zombie verse, that is the case, right? Because Michael puts on the mask before he kills his sister and her boyfriend. But it doesn't exactly line up because he kills Ronnie, his stepfather, before he puts on that mask. So it doesn't really work. But in the YA novels, starting with Mother's Day and finishing with Road Trip, they made 4 of these books. Some guy has like a bulldozer and he's being compelled to dig up Jason's mask. And when he puts on Jason's mask, he becomes consumed with the desire to kill and becomes Jason. But he's not Jason Voorhees. He's just a guy who's being controlled by the same evil that was controlling Jason, right? Like, do people want the cursed masked route? I don't know. That sounds ridiculous for sure. People just want simple things, and I get that. So I don't know. So we're thinking this is going to be a complete reboot. Yes, I would assume. I don't think they're going to go the Daniel Harris route where they make a direct sequel to Halloween 4. Or like, how do you even do such a thing? How do you even do such a thing? We're going to make another alternate timeline, ignoring the events of all of these films besides the 4th movie that 99% of you don't even remember. Miramax going to this massive bidding war against other companies and probably paying a tremendous amount of money. They're not in the habit right now of going after risky endeavors. They're going to go real simplistic. Michael Myers kills teenagers in Haddonfield, guaranteed. That is all it's going to be. I'm going to call that right now. You're going to have the town of Haddonfield. It might be a period piece. I think that would make the most sense. Set it in the 80s. Let's get away from Laurie Strode. Let's just have a new cast of characters, and Myers is a looming threat. That's it. That's all that I think is going to be what it is. I think any franchise that's been around decades will divide people. Sure, of course. If he had character, I wouldn't complain at all. But if he didn't, then I wouldn't either. Let Michael be a character with an ambiguous backstory, not a kid from a broken hillbilly family. Sure, that's fine. As I said, it's not about what Zombie did specifically, like every single avenue he explored, right? That's not what I'm trying to say. There are things in the Zombie verse that I'm not a huge fan of, right? He has such a like traditional backstory for Myers. It's very basic. It's very obvious. It's the abusive family and the stripper mom and the sister who's, you know, promiscuous and doesn't give two shits about him and all that stuff. Like, I get it. I know why he went down that road, but I'm just saying that is an actual character versus Carpenter's version. He literally has on record said Michael Myers is a supernatural force, or he's like an element, like the wind, right? So, and that is what he is. He's as compelling as a gust of wind in a movie, right? Like for instance, like if you take in a disaster movie, right? Like let's say we talk about Twister, right? With Bill Paxton. Do you consider the tornado in Twister to be a character? Because the tornado in Twister and Michael Myers in Halloween are about the same. They're equivalent to each other for the most part, right? You've got Bill Paxton running around trying to tell people this thing's dangerous. It's going to kill you all. You got to get out of here. This is the disaster movie archetype. I guess Myers is. I guess, you know, Halloween is almost like a disaster film, right? Like Loomis is the character that runs around like in 2012 or in The Day After Tomorrow or whatever, and they're saying there's an asteroid coming. You guys got to prepare for this thing. You got to get out of town. You got to take this seriously. And they're all like, Loomis, you're an idiot. Loomis, you're a crackpot. Loomis, you're whatever. Until people start dying. And then all of a sudden they got to take the weather storm seriously, right? So Michael Myers is the equivalent in the Carpenter verse to a disaster movie. He is the winter front coming in The Day After Tomorrow. He's the moon losing orbit and crashing into the earth in Moonfall. He's the earthquake in Earthquake. He's the fire in the Towering Inferno. You know what I mean? So he's the asteroid in. I don't have to continue to keep going down these, but that's just it, right? That's all he is. That's what he becomes. Loomis has to be his voice. The threat is looming on the horizon, right? We all know the meteor's crashing towards the earth. We all know the boogeyman is hiding in the you know, backyard, and he's watching Annie as Loomis runs around town and is like, he's here, and everyone's like, no, he's not, right? That's a disaster movie. I've never really thought about it, but the first Halloween movie is basically a disaster film. Loomis is the scientist that's running around trying to tell everyone doomsday is coming, and no one will listen to him, and everyone's just going on with their, you know, their regular everyday activities as they're about to die. So that is what it ends up coming down to, is that's what he becomes, right? He becomes a force of nature. And how do you make a cinematic universe out of such an idea? How do you make a cinematic universe out of a guy who lurks in the shadow and stabs people? I genuinely don't know. All right, let's see what Hellwig had to say for himself. We couldn't be more excited to bring Halloween to television. Is that just because you want money? Probably, as a producer. We are thrilled to expand our long and successful partnership with this production company. What is that? Trancus? How do you fucking say that? How does someone phonetically write that out for me? I don't know how to say that. And the brilliant Malika Akkad introducing. Is Malika Akkad genius, or is this nepotism? Did Mustafa just pass it down to Malik, and Malik, right? I'm sorry. Malik Akkad. Is he doing brilliant things with the franchise? I'd have to see what he was in charge of. What did Malik bring? Is it Malik or Malik? I think it's Malik, right? What did he bring to the table? The Blumhouse era? Is that all him? And then everything before that wasn't Mustafa dead by the time the zombie? Isn't Zombie the first thing that Malik did? Please, someone let me know. Jointly controlling both the film and TV rights. Okay, so jointly, yeah, there it is. International Films is extremely enthused to be expanding our long-standing relationship. So yeah, they don't really have anything going yet. The franchise has gone dormant. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there's nothing really here. So okay. The thing that bums me out a bit here is that I wish, okay, if Malik Akkad really cared about the franchise, it wouldn't be about how much money people brought to him, right? It wouldn't have been a bidding war. What it should have been is an idea war. That's what would prove to me that Malik Akkad had the Halloween franchise's best interests at heart. You're going to make money, dude. You already have enough money. I guarantee you, Malik Akkad is set for life without ever touching the Halloween franchise ever again. He could pull up stakes. He could sell off everything without making even $1 off the sales. And I guarantee you, Malik Akkad is set for life, doesn't need to ever make another dollar. So what would prove to me personally that he gives two shits about the actual future of the Halloween franchise to us film fans is to say, okay, I'm going to listen to tons of pitches on where we should take this franchise, not who's bringing the highest dollar value, right? Who has the best pitch for the future of this? Because I'm not reading in here anything about that Miramax had some brilliant idea, right? They just had the most money. That doesn't mean anything. So what does that mean? You guys are going to go out and hire the best writers, right? Like, how do you know? So I get it. They're going to be the ones who bring in the money, but Malik Akkad is in charge of this currently. And all he had to do is he had to sit back and say, okay, you've got to sell me on an idea, right? Here's what I'm asking for what I valued this out. This is what I think it's worth. Now, if you want to pay that, cool, but you also have to sell me on where you want to take the franchise. Because if I'm just going to say I'm taking it to the highest bidder might want to do the craziest shit ever. They might want to make Resurrection Part 2, right? They might want to resurrect Resurrection. They might want to do who God knows what. So just having the most money doesn't mean that you're interested in the future of this franchise. That just means you're fucking literally selling out the franchise to the highest bidder. That is literally the definition of being a sellout. Is whoever offers you the most money, you take it because you're a fucking sellout. So to me, what would have said something to me is if in here while I was reading this, Malik would have said, you know, the guys over at Miramax not only offered me a high sum of money, right? Be honest, but also say they have this tremendous pitch that I'm very excited about for the future of Halloween. This is interesting and exciting. For them to just say, oh, we want to do a big universe where we're going to do TV and movies. Okay, do you have a plan for that? Have you even thought that through? Are you even considering what that means? Like, you're just saying shit because that means more money for you. Oh, we're going to do TV and we're going to do movies. That's more stuff to make more money. That doesn't mean anything to me. I don't look at that and say, oh, okay, cool. These guys have a vision. No, this is the vision of dollar signs. That's what they care about. And that's fine. They're a production company. They want to make a return. They put a bunch of investment into it. They want to see money coming back to them for the money they spent. I get all of that. I'm not an idiot. I totally understand that a production company wants to make money. That's the whole point of them being fucking doing this in the first place. The point I'm trying to make is that they need to have a plan before they say they have a plan. That sounds like disaster to me. We want to make a television film universe. Do you have an idea for that? Why are you saying that? Do you have an idea for that? If you don't have an idea for that, why are you saying that? Until you've sat down with artists who actually have a vision for the future of Halloween, how can you possibly say we want to make a connected universe? We want to make a cinematic universe like the Marvel movies or something. I'm sorry, but Michael Myers in the Halloween franchise is not interesting enough to make a Marvel franchise out of. You imagine they're releasing 3 movies a year. There's like teasers for the next movie at the end of it, and they're bringing in, there's like a team up of like all these people versus all these villains at the end. It's never going to happen. That is so stupid. So what is the exact plan here? They don't have one. I'm just outright going to tell you right now. They don't have one. They're just straight up saying, we want money, and more projects means more money. That's it. Would you consider Death in the Final Destination franchise a character? No, I would not. No, I would not. They pulled it off with Bates Motel, and they showed, yeah, but because Norman Bates is a character. This is what I'm saying. Of course they can do it with Norman Bates, because Norman Bates is a vastly, and it's not even close. It is like Norman Bates off the screen, Michael Myers below the screen on how interesting their characters are. Norman Bates is deeply interesting because he has this really interesting relationship with his mother. And he has this really interesting psychosis that we're going to see throughout the entire run of Bates Motel. Bates Motel is brilliant because it explores this deep wealth of interesting, intriguing character development. What are you going to do with Michael Myers in that when 90% of your audience is like, well, Michael Myers can't speak, and I don't want him to really have any actual backstory? Okay, so what does that mean? What do you do with that? What do you do with that? Because what are you going to do with your other characters? The other characters just have to run into Michael Myers, and all Michael Myers does is kills people. So you are creating a story where they have to eventually get to this character, and that character's whole purpose is to kill them. And if they survive it over and over again, it's going to become stale because it's like Myers isn't good at what he does, right? So he has to kill the people he comes across. So how do you make this interesting for like 5 seasons like Bates Motel? You guys got any idea? I don't. Not in the way that they're considering Michael Myers to be a character. I don't see how it's possible. I genuinely don't. How do you make Michael Myers an interesting character? That's why Jason, for the Friday the 13th show, the Camp Crystal Lake show that they're doing, it has to be like Jason. Fuller will understand this. It has to, because Brian Fuller made the incredible Hannibal television series. Fantastic show. If you haven't watched it, I couldn't recommend it higher. It's amazing because the characters speak and have character. So there's actually something to do. And they were only able to do that with 3 seasons. And they had a wealth of freaking, source material that Thomas Harris had already written for them. But with the Halloween franchise, yeah, good luck. But yeah, so he'll understand that with Jason, there's a very interesting relationship going on there between Jason and his mother. This is something that has never been explored in 12 films of a franchise, but has been set up since the first film. Jason and his mother, that is like a Bates Motel wanting to happen. And people who just want to see Jason stab people, then television isn't the place for you. That's not going to work for people who just want stabby Jason. Jason's going to have to be a character. He's going to have a relationship with his mom. His mom's going to have to start killing people to protect him or whatever the fuck. And then Jason is going to have to kill once his mother is dead, right? That's how you make an interesting character. That's how you make a show. That's how you make this thing actually have a long-standing premise. So, anyways. Yeah, you're damn right. A lot of people are going to have to start deleting their videos because obviously A24 is not the winner of this. And it's funny to me that people jump the gun so heavily on that. It could be similar to the Chucky show, except for Chucky talks. And Chucky is splitting his soul into 1,000 different dolls. And there's so many wild things going on in the Chucky show. And most people in the Halloween franchise would not be okay. Would you want Michael to start creating a Myers army? Do you know what I mean? Like, what do you guys, like, what do you think? What do you think can be a story for Michael Myers to be interesting that will please the majority of Halloween fans and make them happy and want to come around? Because as I've said 100 times here, I keep reiterating myself, Stabby Michael is what they want, but Stabby Michael ain't interesting enough to make an entire television show off if he's just not. So I honestly have no idea. Honestly, I have no idea. Michael hosting a show. Yeah. Good luck with that. Friggin' Freddy Krueger was able to have a television show because he introduced every episode like the Crypt Keeper because fucking Freddy talks. Michael not talking is the biggest shot in the foot to any writer. So the series will be mostly based on the rest of the characters, with Myers being the focus in the background story, and nobody can catch him. But what does that mean? Like, people are like, what are they going to be doing? They're just going to be living their life, and they're going to have like a Riverdale with Michael Myers randomly showing up and killing Riverdale kids. Like, how do you make Michael the focus of the story without him being a character, and make it continuously interesting for multiple seasons and crossing over into films? I don't know how you do that. I genuinely don't understand how they could possibly do such a thing. I'm totally down to be proven wrong and be like, holy shit, I issue an apology. They did it. They pulled it off. Michael Myers hasn't said a word in 6 seasons of a TV show. He just lurks in the shadows. They've made 3 films to cross over to, and it totally works. I don't see how it's possible, but I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. Actually, I wouldn't love to see it because I don't think it can possibly work, and I will probably be the odd man out saying, this is crazy. You guys are nuts. This doesn't work. But I don't know. It will be about Haddonfield High School, and kids start going missing, and there is a serial killer on the loose. Okay. So kids are just talking about how scared they are about Myers. They just randomly get picked off, and they try to hunt him down, and he just keeps killing them. That's it. That's the whole show. I ain't gonna run very long. Yeah, for 10 seasons. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. And 5 movies, right? And 5 movies. That is Scream. That's Scream without like the killer calling. That's Scream without finding out who the killer is. Imagine Scream without Ghostface calling and without a reveal of who the killer is, and doing that for the last 6 films. It's just not interesting. It just isn't. I'm sorry. It just doesn't work. It just isn't going to work. So I don't know. I like my idea more now. What's your idea again? What did you say? Halloween names come up and Tales of appears above the name. Michael Myers is the host of Tales of Halloween. He just stands there. He does charades. People wouldn't even like that, man. He can't even do charades. So I don't know, man. But yeah, Miramax. There you go. I don't know what else to say. I think I've given my opinion. What would I do? Well, you have to make Myers a character somehow in some way. It's going to be very tough. It's going to be very tough. This is something they're going to have to really sit down and think about, but they need to take some years to let the franchise breathe, right? The brand is definitely tainted currently because of how many people dislike Ends and how much shit the David Gordon. I mean, look what's happening in The Exorcist right now. That's residual hatred for Halloween Ends. There might be people who think that The Exorcist Believer is a genuinely terrible film and all this and that. That's fine. If you don't like the movie, that's totally fine. But the hatred that is being launched at The Exorcist Believer started way before it came out. It started with the hatred of Halloween Ends. So if there's still residual hatred towards the Halloween franchise currently, you have to let it air. You have to let it, breathe, just like they did with Resurrection, right? Resurrection came out and they gave it 5 or 6 years before they did the zombie thing. So Halloween Ends came out last year. Miramax just got the rights. Give it at least, I'd say 2 to 3 years at least. That'll be 4 years since Ends. That's 5 years sounds about right. I think 5 years from Ends makes the most sense to give it just enough time away that distance makes the heart grow fonder kind of mentality. And then you come in and you start this whole new thing. But it's going to be a tricky one. It's going to be a really tricky one. I'll be very curious to see how this all unfolds. What do I think they'll do? I think they'll do a complete reboot. They will make it a period piece set. Period piece, I'm not 100% sold on. That's what I think they should do, just to eliminate cell phones and all of the like self-aware social commentary and all that shit that they have to inject into like the TikTok generation and all that stuff. But they also do want to try to appeal to kids now, because a lot of kids now are the people who are watching it the most. So that's tough, man. I don't know what they're going to go with, but it period piece or not, I don't know. But I do think complete reboot. And Matt's right. I think no matter what, they're going to piss off half the people. So it doesn't really matter. Could they win back the entire audience? Okay. What do you guys think about Halloween 2018? What do you think that was? Do you think that was 50-50? I don't think so. I don't think that was 50-50. I'd say that was more 75-25. 75% of people really loved it, and 25% of people were either blah or on the side of different, disliking it. 75-25 for Matt. It's just the nature of franchises now. Sure, I am. It can't be a period piece if a planned cinematic universe, unless you think everything will be a period piece. Yeah, I mean, it would have to be, right? It would have to be, which is fine. I think the franchise does better in that way, because like one of the best scenes in the entirety of the new trilogy is the flashback scene. Right? The scene where Myers is in his original costume, Loomis shows up. People freaked out over that because that's what they love. I think that the period piece it makes the most sense. I think taking it back to the 70s, and doing I think honestly that's probably what they will do. I think that they probably will do the 70s, and they will reboot it, and they will bring Loomis back, and they will bring, like, they're going to do all the familiar shit. That's what I think. I think that they're going to do it. They're going to explore it from 63. They could even do it from 63, explore Michael. So like in the novelization, they have Michael, who's kind of like this mob boss, like kind of guy in jail. Right. He's in this like sanitarium for kids, and all the kids like fear him, and he like kills people, and they can't prove how. It's interesting. It's interesting. So I can definitely see them going that route, and kids trying to explore what turned Michael evil. But I could even see them going the route of like, the Thorn trilogy, trying to do this like total attachment to all the different ideas, taking some things from Thorn, which they kind of did in Ends, right? Ends is kind of an homage to the end of Halloween 4, right? Michael touches Jamie, he passes on the evil, she stabs her foster mom. They did the same thing with Corey. He grabs onto Corey, he looks into his eyes, he sees he's killed someone, and he kind of like passes the evil or whatever over to Corey, right? So like this is not something that's new to the franchise. They've been doing this for a while. So I definitely think the idea of the like evil and passing it on and whatnot is not off the table. Halloween Ends is, in my opinion, I don't use this often, if ever, a masterpiece. Wow. Fauci and me are, I don't know if I'd call it a masterpiece for sure. Because I don't like how the Laurie stuff is handled in the end. I don't like how Corey is handled in the end. I do think they botch the ideas set up in Halloween Ends in the end, but I definitely love it for sure. I'm a big fan of it, but I don't like that Corey was definitely killed. I don't like the fight between Laurie and him and it being the central focus of the film and how that all ends up. But that's nor here nor there. I know so many people hate Halloween Ends, and that's not. But we are here for a Halloween discussion, and I can't not talk about the obvious thing here, which is obviously the last film they made. But anyways, hello, Abdul. I will give you your shout out since you want it so badly. I just feel it shouldn't have been the finale in a trilogy. I mean, I'm personally someone who really wish that they would have built up Corey Cunningham from the beginning. I really wish that they could have had the foresight to see Corey as a character, right? Much like in the Star Wars trilogy that they just did, in the sequel trilogy. I really wish that Emperor Palpatine had been developed from, 7 to 9, as opposed to just, shoehorning him into 9 as the main villain and saying, I was here all along and this and that. That's just silly, right? And with Corey Cunningham, it's the same thing where I feel like as much as I love Ends, how much better would it have been had Corey been a character like that opening of Halloween Ends being the opening of Halloween 2018, introducing us to this kid, Corey. Then him, being a character, getting to know Allison. Then we go into Halloween Kills. Then at the end of Halloween Kills, he runs into Myers, and Myers has that eye thing with him and down in the sewers or whatever. And then we go, what the fuck was that? And then we have a year to think about it. And then in Halloween Ends, we start to see that Corey is changing, that he's becoming, darker and whatever. That would have made way more sense. That would have been, then people wouldn't have been as disconnected from Corey. It's that they threw him in last second in part 3. That's it. That's the problem. And I agree with that issue. As much as I love Halloween Ends, it's too quick to introduce a character like that, to have him be the central focus of a film that you've set up 2 other films, and you're just basically ignoring everything you set up in 1 and 2. I completely get the critique of Halloween Ends. I just love the movie, so I can't disconnect myself from how I enjoy the film. Because I enjoy the film so much, I can look past the fact that they basically shit on the whole idea that they set up in 1 and 2. Corey is the embodiment of what they were going for in essence. They just didn't do it and connect it to the other films as much as they should. So this is why with this new reboot, this Miramax thing, they need to sit down and they really need to discuss what the plan is. Because just like Star Wars, just like Halloween Ends, just like so many other things these days, they don't have an actual plan in place, right? The reason the Marvel Cinematic Universe was able to work as well as it did up until the point where people kind of fallen off. I still like the Marvel movies, but they definitely they don't have the same punch that they used to, for sure. I can even admit that as a Marvel defender, I am still someone that is oh yeah, we don't have anything on the level of Endgame or anything. That not even close. Endgame is fucking 100 times better than anything they're putting out. But I still enjoy what I'm watching. It's just it feels like Endgame was the plan. And now they're kind of just spinning their wheels as they try to put a plan together, but they have to continue to keep putting movies out. So they tease little things without an actual plan, right? So, and anything past No Way Home for me is just the studio is doing things on the fly. And some people can do that. Matt Stone and Trey Parker, that is all they can do. That's how they do it. That's how they've done South Park since day one. They literally don't even start writing the new episode until the newest episode has aired. That's crazy, but it works for them. But they're not telling a connected story. At least they didn't until season 20. But regardless, with Halloween, I really wish David Gordon Green and everyone else involved in the trilogy, Danny McBride and whoever, had sat down and said, okay, what is the plan for this entire trilogy, right? If we're going to do a trilogy, because they had been talking about a trilogy from day one. I know that Halloween 2018 made money, and so they were like, we're gonna end it in a way where if it doesn't make any money, it can have an end. He burned in the freaking, he burned in the basement. The end. It is what it is. You can fill in your headcanon for whatever you think happens from there. But we'll leave it open-ended and we can have it. But like, they didn't think about the trilogy as a whole. I can see that watching Ends. Corey was not thought of until a Halloween Ends. That I'm pretty much positive on. So as much as I like the character, it's just, had they had the plan in place and understood what they were going to do, they could have hired Rowan Campbell or whoever, right? And introduced him in 2018. And that's what they need to do with this new series. That's what they have to do with this new thing, is they have to come in and they have to say, okay, we have to have a definite plan in place. If you're going to create a cinematic universe, if you're going to have some kind of big expanding thing, they need to sit down with writers like James Cameron did with the Avatar movies, like Marvel did with so many properties up until Endgame. And they need to sit in a room for a year or two with writers, and they have to say, where do we want to go and where does this end? And they have to have that whole plan in place before they commit to this big thing, right? If you're going to do the cinematic universe, I think they should just focus on one film personally. But regardless, if they are committed to this idea, they have to sit down and they have to plan the entire fucking thing out. Like the Avatar movies or not, James Cameron was really intelligent. He, as he always is, he sat down with writers and he wrote 2, 3, 4, and 5 all together at once, had the whole thing planned out, really understood where it was going, and 2 definitely has a plan with 3, 4, and 5, right? There's nothing going to be introduced in 3, 4, or 5 that was like, well, that contradicts 2 now. Like, what? They obviously didn't understand what they were doing. No, they 100% know what they're doing with Avatar, like them or not. So that's what I'm saying. They have to have a plan in place. If you're going to go down this road, a plan has to be set in place. So that's all I ask of them. They need to sit down, write it out. This is what we're going to do, beginning, middle, and end, and then start putting it together. Have a plan. I don't know what I'd want. I don't know. I want something good, something I enjoy. The Halloween franchise is kind of all over the place, but I don't know, man. We'll see. So, got to have a plan. We've seen it too many times. Yeah. Corey should have been one of Allison's friends from 2018. 100%. 100%. I would have loved more Corey in the other 2 films. Sure, of course. Had the same thought. If he was introduced in part 1, you see even Alex, who despises Halloween Ends, everyone attack him. No. Even Alex, who loves, who doesn't like Halloween Ends at all, he agrees. Like, if Corey had been introduced in 1 or even 2, he'd probably be way more open to it. So yeah, it was just obviously not a plan. David Gordon Green did not have a clear vision for the trilogy. He wanted to initially pitch 2 films, but had no concept for a 3rd film. It shows, but it's funny because that's easily my favorite of the 3. So maybe him not having a plan is better. And that's why focusing on, I mean, that kind of makes sense, right? He's focusing on one specific story, and Corey's story is interesting to me. Like, the story in Halloween 2018 and the Halloween Kills movies is not interesting. It's literally what I just said. It's them trying to make Michael Myers a character without him really being a character. And they kind of struggled back and forth of like, well, Laurie's our like tent pole here. She's the thing that holds this up as far as a character goes, because she's our legacy thing. Then we're introducing Allison and we're introducing Karen and we're introducing these other characters, but then we're killing them off. And like Laurie is really kind of like the central focus of our characters. But then they didn't really use her at all in Kills, right? And then in 18, they had to kind of shoehorn her back into relevance because she's not the sister anymore. So then Sartain had to come in to kind of pit them back against each other. But and then Ends actually explores an interesting character, right? This is why I say if it wasn't Halloween, I think people would like Halloween Ends way more, because Corey's character arc is super interesting. Corey is an actual character. Corey is what Myers should be, right? Rowan Campbell, there's no way that's the real Rowan Campbell. If that was the real Rowan Campbell, I'd freak the fuck out. But no, for real, like Corey is an actual character. This is what I'm talking about with Myers. Corey is the fucking Myers character that I'm referring to. Corey has an arc. He is interesting. He has, he has intrigue. He goes through he goes through the turmoil and the trauma, and then it turns him into the killer or whatever. That's an actual interesting thing. So exploring Corey Cunningham is way more interesting than exploring the John Carpenter Myers, because there's literally no character to that element. So whoever made the Rowan Campbell account to come in here and pretend to be Rowan Campbell, that was sweet. Thanks for making me think for a second that Rowan Campbell was actually in here, because that would be amazing if that ever actually happened. If for some reason it is Rowan Campbell, I wrote you on Instagram to come on the show for a live discussion. So I'll take a shot in the dark at the 0.01% chance it's actually him. It's not, but I thought I gotta say it. So he's just casually. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, it's not impossible. And he sees that the franchise is over. He's all into it, and he checks out the live feed. He doesn't have to be subscribed. He just has to check who's talking about the Halloween franchise live right now, and he comes in there. It's not him, but I'm just saying it's not impossible. Corey becomes the boogeyman. Yeah, I mean, that's what he was supposed to be, and they didn't commit to that. That's what I don't like about Ends, is that they did not commit to the idea. That's the problem. That's why I won't call it a masterpiece, is because they didn't commit to making Corey the new Myers as they had because the opening of Halloween shows me that Corey was planned to take over the mantle, that Myers was going to die, and that Corey was going to be promoted. But I think as the studio got more and more weary, right, and then the leaks happened, and the leaks were given out, and then people freaked out and were like, I don't want that. No, like, they decided to change it up. I do believe that Corey was meant to survive Halloween Ends and become Myers. I do believe that. But I think that they got cold feet in the last minute and killed him off. They had Michael come over and snap his neck, right? I think he probably just was bleeding out, and just that's what it was going to be left with. And then at the end of the movie, Corey's body was going to be missing. I think that's how it should have ended. That's what I would have preferred. That would have been way better to me. Had Corey been stabbed and whatever and shot by Lori, and then she kills Myers. She thinks she's done. She's grinded his body, and then she comes back to her house and finds Corey's body's missing. And then she's like, here we go again. That would have been way better. A way better ending to Halloween Ends, and actually went through with what they were setting up, obviously. So anyways, yeah, but there are silly moments throughout all three films. Of course, the African-American woman somehow survived. I mean, people survive crazy things, dude. Have you ever went on YouTube and seen the guy who has like no head, his like whole face and everything, and like part of his, all this was like chewed, I said, chewed off by like a wild animal, and he has like nothing. Or like the people who get like pulled up through the head, and it like went through this part of their head and like up through their fucking brain, and then they are able to remove the pole and they survive. People can survive crazy things, and then people can die from the easiest things too. Humans are interesting in that way. I've seen people die from the dumbest things ever. They like stub their toe and somehow they die from it. But then other people somehow will be, yeah. It says you guys are going to get ads. I'm skipping these ads for you guys. Fuck that. What? Ads skipped. I skipped ads for you. It was gonna make you get ads. That's lame. But yeah, so people really can survive crazy things. Really look up, go online and Google like what people have survived. It's wild stuff. I mean, I don't want to talk about other things like concentration camps and whatever, because that's just in poor taste. But people can endure more than you think. So her surviving Michael Myers' attack is not as crazy as you might think. I think they should go with Zombies' view of Myers being a homeless psycho, walking truck stops and randomly. I mean, I think Zombies Myers is infinitely more interesting than Carpenter's Myers as far as a character goes, and I think Corey Cunningham is as well. So that's me. I don't know, but what do you guys think? I think that's going to do it for me. I've been on this for like 2 hours now, including the like 6 other streams that didn't take. And too bad that Rowan Campbell guy didn't really try to like sell me on the fact that he's actually Rowan Campbell. I probably would have started to fall for it. He could have catfished me, but he didn't commit to it. He made an account and everything. So I said a lot of things. I was really passionate about a lot of things. I love this franchise as much as anyone. I don't talk about it as much as Lee McCoy or somebody or Matt from Fatchy's Cinema. If you like the Halloween franchise, you definitely want to go support those two guys. They talk about this franchise way more than me, but I love this franchise as much as anybody. I just don't make my entire channel dedicated to talking about it because if you haven't noticed, there's a lot more films in the world than just the Halloween franchise, right? And there's a lot more genres than just horror. So I love film. Right? I love this movie. This is like La La Land. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. Top 10, like ever, maybe. So I'm not like somebody who is absolutely dedicated to one single thing. But I love Halloween, man. It's been my favorite film since I was a kid. I will always come back, forever to this franchise. I always love this shit, and I'm passionate about it, but it's not my life. I'm not dedicated to it. I'm just somebody who loves film and happens to also love the Halloween franchise, and will always be a major supporter of it. And here's to another 10 fucking Michael Myers films. I'll be here for all of it. So. Make it People versus OJ style, where you see how his murders affected people on trial. Have a young Myers, or Loomis. Yeah, go the like courtroom drama route. I don't think people are gonna like that. But that's an interesting. I mean, that's the most unique thing. My favorite script I ever saw for Myers was the one where he was on death row, The Halloween Returns by Marcus and Patrick, Marcus Dunstan, Patrick Melton. They wrote it like this Halloween End script where Myers breaks out of the death row and starts hunting kids inside a prison. I always thought that was such a cool idea. So we'll see what ends up happening here, but the future is definitely, I don't know if it's bright, but it's gonna endure. The Halloween franchise will never die, just like the Boogeyman. Halloween ends not today. So there you go, Miramax. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. I love you all, and I'll see you guys later. Adios.